Welcome back to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the extended commentary section, where we answer any question you could possibly want to ask about photography or video that I can answer. That's the idea. Hey, we just talked about minimum shutter speed settings on the camera, how to enable it, why to use it, what it means. We even got into more about shutter speed and shutter angle, and it kind of went off topic a little bit, but it was fun. Hopefully that was a good session. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. But we are done with that for now. So now we get to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. What do we want to talk about today? Let's see here. Let's go ahead and bring up the comments here. I like John's suggestion. John Morby saying, should we should put together, I think it's put together a cultural tour of the UK and invite PhotoJoseph. That's me, to join us. I'll do it. Stratford, Bristol, Edinburgh, other suggestions. I love it. Let's do it. I do really want to do a workshop thing out there. I think that's a great idea. Obviously, I've got an audience out there. That would be a lot of fun. It's just, you know, planning, time. A commodity I seem to be short of these days. But yes, I think it's a good idea. We'll do something out there for sure. Let's see here. John Marvin talking about nice distance and time. I don't know if you're talking about the Mexico thing you're saying, guessing it's not an expensive place unlike London. If you're talking about Oaxaca, Oaxaca is definitely not an expensive place. It's fantastic. Love it, love it, love it there. All right, let's see. The O Show says, I'm thinking of upgrading my G85 to a GH5 and doing your course. Well, I highly recommend doing the course. Even if you don't upgrade, and I'm not saying this just to say like, hey, go buy the course. In all seriousness, the GH5 course that I'm doing, is obviously about the GH5, but there's a lot of info in there that applies to any Lumix camera, and there's a lot of info that applies to any camera, full stop. But even if you're a Lumix shooter but not a GH5, you will still find a lot in that course that's worthwhile. Look at the table of contents. It's at gh5training.com. You can see that now. You can go there anytime and take a look at that, and you'll see the full table of contents there, and you can decide, okay, well, I know my camera has that, and I really don't know how it works, so there you go. Anyway, so the question was, where'd it go? I'm thinking of upgrading my G85 to a GH5 and doing your course. I'm doing a trip around Australia. Awesome, I'll go. Hoping to get better video thoughts. Hoping to get better video thoughts. So hoping to get better video, period, thoughts. I understand now. Okay, so differences. I don't own a G85, so I can't do side-by-sides on them. Better image stabilization. Clearly, this is a camera that's really designed, video is a huge focus on, so you get things like Vlog. If you want to do that, that's only going to be on here. You have the newest, latest sensor, right? So your image sensor on here is better than what's in the G85. It's a whole new generation of sensor, better processing, better low light performance. So that's all in the GH5, unique to the GH5. Keeping in mind, your GH5 is the flagship, right? This is the latest, greatest flagship camera. Some of this new tech will over time trickle down into other cameras, undoubtedly, but at the moment, this is your latest and greatest. I don't know if the G85 uses the full sensor when shooting 4K. I'm going to guess it's not. Usually, most of the Lumix cameras up until this, if not all the Lumix cameras up until this, used a cropped portion of the sensor. So if you've got, this is your whole sensor, if you're shooting 4K, it's actually using true 4K pixels, the 3840 wide pixels, instead of the whole thing, which is 5133, 51 something pixels wide. Now, the GH5 uses the full sensor and then scales down to give you a 4K image, which does result in a better quality. By doing that, anytime you scale something down, if any fine edges, hair, little fine edges like that, they tend to look better. They get an extra kind of anti-aliasing going on. This camera doesn't have the anti-aliasing filter, so that actually kind of helps that a little bit as well, but that does give you an overall sharper image. Let's see what else. The full sensor is obviously a good thing. The other advantage of using the full sensor is when you switch between still photography and video mode, your framing doesn't change. Other than obviously you go from 4:3 to 16:9, but your width doesn't change. Same thing when going to HD, 1920 by 1080, your framing doesn't change because you're always using the full sensor. So that's a big advantage. What else over the G85? G85 is weather sealed, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that one's weather sealed. Yeah, that's right, it is. So I don't know if this is more weather sealed or not, but that is. The G85, I'm assuming it has a microphone port. I don't know, does it have a headphone port as well? This obviously has both. Full-size HDMI out if you're doing that. And then, of course, you've got that little tiny detail of 4K 60 and 4K 30 10-bit internal. And then if you hook up a Ninja external device, or external recorder, you can do 4K 60p 10-bit to the external. Wow, right? That's all GH5 territory. 180 frames per second in 1080p. That's another advantage of this. I'm sure there's other things, but those are some of the big ones that jump to mind. So if you need those things or want those things, then it's a great option. It's also, this is a pro camera, right? I mean, this thing's designed to take a beating. The G85 is no slouch, but this thing is built like a Sherman tank, right? This is designed to be solid. It's designed to be abused. Don't abuse it. It's designed to be abused. Griffin Hammond, you know, I did an interview with him. We'll put that up here, because that was fun. It was a little while ago when I was in Vegas. Had him on. We talked about his movie Hand Cut and about his love of the GH5. He just did a tour around the world, did a bunch of stops through Southeast Asia, I guess, mostly. And I was listening to his podcast, and he talked about how on stage he dropped or knocked his camera with the lens off the cabinet onto the floor, off the table onto the floor, and everybody in the audience went, and he's like, what? It's fine. It's fine. No problem. And it was. It's no problem. Things are built tough. So there's that. So there's a few reasons for you to upgrade. If those are attractive to you, appealing to you, then I say upgrade. If they're not, then don't bother. I would still keep the G85 if you can afford it. Keep the G85. It's a great backup body. I know the G85 is an extremely popular camera. At least here in the US, I know that it's hard to get right now because it is such a popular camera. It's half the price of this thing. So if you don't need those higher end features, it's very, very appealing. I know that's a great camera. And I know, because my other favorite camera is the GX85, which the G85 is basically a GX85 in a bigger body. And I love the GX85. So there you go. All good reasons to consider it and to, or to not, or to stick with what you got. Okay, Emacs Tube says, in the GH5, we have an option to shoot at a lower ISO 100. Why is that an option to turn on and not have it available as the lower ISO? Okay, so we're talking about expanded ISO. I'm going to explain this the best that I can understand it. I think I might get this partially wrong, but here's the basic idea. Your camera has what's called a base ISO. That's its native ISO. On this camera, it is presumed to be ISO 400. I've actually seen some debate now coming up that maybe it is still 800, which is what the GH4 was. At least, again, that's what people tested out to be. But regardless, you've got your base ISO and then a range around that of where you can go to expand your ISO, to make your ISO lower or higher. Lower ISO, of course, means higher sensitivity. You need more light, lower sensitivity, so you need more light to be able to shoot that way, and so on. One of the reasons that you want to avoid going too low, and the reason that the ability to go to 100 is disabled by default, is that expanded ISO, you tend to get less dynamic range. So this is the main reason, as I understand it, that you don't want to go, you may not want to go into that lowest ISO or super high ISO range, because you're going to lose some of your dynamic range. Now, sometimes you don't have a choice. You need to have that. You've got such a bright light situation. There's really nothing you can do about it. You got to go there. But in general, you want to keep it at 200 or above. So 200, what is the default? 200 to 2600 or something like that. I don't remember. Let's see here. Yeah, ISO is low. So low ISOs, you've got, let's bring this up. You've got ISO 100, 125, and 160, and then you get into 200, and you see it gets out of the low range. And then on the high end, I guess this camera doesn't give you a high. The high end here, it automatically goes all the way up. There's no high. On some of the cameras, you'll see that's part of the expanded ISO. I don't know why the GH5 doesn't need to go into expanded ISO to get up to the 25600, but there you go. So that's generally it. It's about the dynamic range of what you're capturing. If you are in a controlled lit situation and you don't have extremely bright highlights, extremely dark shadows, then it shouldn't matter at all. But if you need, if you're out and about, you're out in the sun, you got super bright highlights, you got really dark shadows, you may want to stay away from that just because you may not get quite the dynamic range. So hopefully that answers that question. All right, let's see. Oops, scrolls off the way. Where'd it go? Where? Swear to God, it's like comments just fly off the screen. There we go. All righty. Ooh, Marvin says, if you were buying an iPad, which would you choose, the 10 or 12 inch? That's tough. That is tough. So you know I've got the 12 inch. It's the original 12 inch. It's great. Right? The thing's fantastic. Huge screen, love it. But it is a little big, right? It's basically not much smaller than my 15-inch laptop. It's a little smaller, obviously, but not much. The 10 is considerably smaller than that, considerably. It's smaller. When I've owned, well, that's what this is, the 10, you can kind of see the black bezels on this. There's a lot of bezel on this, right? And so what was the actual size of the screen? Like 9 or 8 something, I don't remember. But now the new iPad same physical size, but you got a bigger screen. Would I still get the 12, or would I go, oh, that's tough. I'd really have to look at them side by side. I love working on that big iPad screen. I don't love carrying the big iPad. Honestly, I don't. I would rather be carrying something a bit smaller. I have the mini iPad as well, the original one, which I don't use that much anymore. It gets used in here as an audio recording device and a few other things, but I really like that size. The reason I stopped carrying it around was because I upgraded to the plus size, first with the 6 and then the 7, so I got the big iPhone. And the size difference between the big iPhone and the little iPad is not that huge, but it is still different, right? If I'm reading a book or something, I'd rather have that smaller one. That's something worth saying. If you do a lot of reading, the big iPad, the 12, that's kind of heavy. It's like a heavy book in your hand, so you might want to consider a smaller one for that. The new, bigger, medium-sized iPad does have the bigger screen. You can use the pencil with it, because if you're using the Pro one, you can use the pencil. You'd still get the split screen. I'd be really tempted. I would, but I'd have to look at it. I'd have to look at it side by side and play with them and go, ooh, do I really? And also, I think what would be worth looking at is when you're working in split screen mode. If you're working in non-split screen, then that 10-inch screen, whatever it is probably big enough for anything. But if you go split screen, is it like looking at 2 iPhones side by side, or is it still a good, solid working space? Because I really like that split screen mode. I like being able to have, mail in one and a Safari tab in the other, or whatever it might be. So, all things to consider. So the easy answer to the question is I don't really know yet, but I'd be very tempted by the new mid-size iPad. Carlos says, thanks for recommending Image One camera. Oh, good. Their virtual delivery Vlog L product for GH5 worked great for you. Awesome. So what he's talking about is Image One camera is a camera store down in the LA area. We did a little thing, we'll link to them right here. We did a little thing with them in Vegas where Shadi, the owner of the store, came on camera and he told you guys what he had in stock at all kinds of GH5s and all kinds of good stuff. When all the big boys were out of stock on it, he had them. And they sell the Vlog L, the Vlog upgrade. And what they'll do is they'll actually take a picture of the serial number, the code that you need, and email it to you once you buy it so that you can, so you can upgrade your camera right away. You don't have to wait for the thing to come in the mail. So, so that's awesome. Thank you, Carlos. I'm glad you bought from them. Those guys are great. And I'm actually going to be going down there July, did we set the date? 20-something? I'll tell you guys about it once we're set. But I'm going to go down there and I'm going to do a photo video thing while I'm down there. With them, with the store. Marvin says, I can organize the West of England locations for you. Excellent. Look at this. We're going to community build. We're going to crowdsource a photo workshop. I love it. Let's do it. Marvin says, Australia can be either very dusty or very wet, so GH5 is better. Again, I don't know if we're talking about comparing to the G85, if the GH5 is more weather sealed than the G85. I don't know. Both are weather sealed, but I don't know if this one is more weather sealed. I know this camera is freeze proof. I'm sure you drop it in liquid nitrogen, you're gonna have issues. But it is marketed as freeze proof. The G85 is not, but then again, Australia, probably not a whole lot of freezing happening. SRO Digital says, do you use a handheld light meter in conjunction with your GH5? No, I do have that new little Lumu Labs meter for my iPhone, but as we've seen on the show before, link to this here, reliability, accuracy is questionable. And just update on that, since we did our second video, the company has not responded to that. They've acknowledged that they're watching the video, but I haven't got an official response yet. So fingers crossed they figured this out. I'm hoping it's just a firmware update because I really like this thing. Software update, whatever. Graham Cooper says, apologies if already asked and answered. Graham, you never need to apologize, my friend. Seen guys using the PL mount lenses on the Wii Black Magic cameras. Any way to do that on GH5? Yeah, the PL mounts, you can adapt PL mounts to the Micro Four Thirds. I'm pretty sure. I've never done it, but you can adapt all kinds of things. PL mount to Micro Four Thirds. There we go. Oops. I'm sure you can. Metabones, yep, Metabones has got it. Metabones PL lens to Micro Four Thirds. Here you go. Let me pull this up and we will, there we go. Metabones PL lens to Micro Four Thirds. There you go. 369 smackaroos. You might be able to find a cheaper one. I don't know, but what are these? These are different things. But these are, there you go. That's what you're looking for. So PL mount, there's your Micro Four Thirds side end, and there's your PL mount side. Cool. Cool, yeah, for cine lenses. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. That's one of the really cool things about Micro Four Thirds. You can adapt almost anything to it. Super cool. Oh, right, yeah, what else we got here? The ocean. see, oh, you guys didn't see it. Man, I gotta leave this up so you can see what I'm experiencing here. My things go flying off screen. The Osho says, thanks heaps for the info. Looking forward to the course and the trip. Awesome. Me too. Esther just says, iPad's 9.7 inches. Yeah, that's almost 10 inches. It's big. It sounds very ideal. It does sound very ideal. Marvin says, can you just go back over the setting for the 3D image focusing? Go over the setting for 3D image focusing. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Marvin. Please clarify. Joshua says, you look like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, wait, I can't. I got wires hanging off the back of my head. Obi-Wan. No. Actually, I got the beard. It's going gray. All I need is a lightsaber. Ha! Okay. Anyway, enough of that crap. Let's see here. Marvin, waiting for you to clarify your question. And let's just scroll back through, see if there's anything I missed. And then we're going to get out of here and get back to work. ISO, what is the ISO question? We hit that. There's the upgrade of the G85. We got that. Cultural tour, I'm all in. Let's do it. The overworld makes sense. Guadalajara, I'm telling you, Omar, you should come. It's going to be fun. Yeah, snowing outside. It's definitely not that snowing. Okay. Let's see. Did Marvin... Tracking of objects. Ah, okay. So you're talking about the tracking. Okay, so the idea is... And I should probably pull up the marketing page to get all the phrasing right. But the idea is that the GH5 has image tracking, predictive focus, three-dimensional space tracking. It not only knows when an object is moving across the scene and can track the speed, and so therefore knows where it's going to be, you know, a hundredth of a second from now, whatever the timing is, but it does it in 3D space. So as an object is coming towards you at an angle, it's vectoring off of that. It goes, okay, it was there, and now it's here, therefore it's going to be here next. And it knows that so it can predictively focus, pre-focus the camera, essentially. This is, I guess it's used both in stills and video, but as we've seen, we've had some video focusing issues. So the still focusing, it works out remarkably well, So there's that. That's kind of what I can give you. You can look up specs and get the marketing lingo, but that's basically the idea. It tracks in 3D space where things are, where they're going to be, and focuses to where it's going. Yeah, it's kind of like the baseball player. You throw throwing the ball to where the person's going to be, not to where they are. Hockey, it's that one. You're hitting the puck to where they're going to be, not to where they are. Like a Gretzky quote. Anyway, I know this much about sports ball. Okay, Sully says, can you do an episode on gear insurance? No, other than to say get some, because I don't want to be recommending insurance companies. That sounds like a bad idea. Legally, that sounds like a bad idea. So no, I can't recommend one. I can say you can look at your, what is it, ASP or AMPA, SMP, AMPA, American Media Photographers Association, I think that's right. Any of the photography associations like that, and obviously some are US based and some are elsewhere in the world, go through those. They usually have an insurance system that they recommend or that they work with, or maybe they have their own insurance, or just talk to your insurance agent and get a quote, what is it called? Inland marine, it's so weird, inland marine. I don't really ever get that, but I have an inland marine policy, and I have two separate portions of the policy, one that's for gear that never leaves the studio, and another one that costs more for gear that can leave the studio. But I used to have an insurance policy where I had to update every single piece of gear. That was super annoying. But now I have just a blanket. It's X dollars, and as I buy new gear, I always pad it. So I add, whatever at the end of the year. Every year we evaluate or we look at our inventory. Go, it's this much value, and then we pad it a little bit because I know I'm going to be buying gear, and so we insure for that amount. So if the place burns down, I'm covered. But that's as far as I'm going to go with that. I don't want to get in. I don't want to be recommending companies. I don't think it's a good idea. Marvin says, which menu? There's not a menu. It's just when you're in the autofocus tracking, autofocus continuous, that tracking is on. The Osho say, when will the full GH5 course be out? Okay, so the first portion of the first completed chapter was uploaded on Monday. That is available now, ready for download for those who have pre-ordered the course. My goal was to finish shooting it this week. My goal is also to finish shooting it last week. I'm really going to try to finish shooting it this week because I'm taking part of next week off, and I really want to get this done. But then it still has to be finishing editing, sound, everything else. So right now we moved our final delivery date from June 15th to June 30th. But of course, it's going to continue to come out as pieces come out. Fingers crossed. It's a moving target. It's a big project. It's way bigger than I anticipated, and the reason for that is when I sit down to do one video. Let's say I'm going to record a video on ISO. Obviously, I got to pick what am I going to say? I'm going to go through this, go through this, go through this. But every time I do this, it turns out to be a much bigger setup because I'm going, okay, well, I got to show this on the table, so I need props. I got to get props, set up lighting for the props, and it's more complicated than I anticipated. But that's fine. It's just taking a little longer than I expected, but it's worth it because the course is it's awesome. Now, the first review came up on the, I'm going to pull that up. The first review was left for this product. If you own it and you are already watching it, then I would please encourage you to leave a review. Reviews are nice. But here we go. Let's make this nice and big so it's going to be readable. Readable. Here we go. Mr. Sainik Biswas says, this course is just awesome. Well, thank you. If you want to know what the GH5 is all about and every nitty-gritty detail about the GH5 camera, it is all here. Oh, it all will be here. It's only partially there now, but it's all going to be there. If anybody is buying the GH5 camera, this is the video training and manual the GH5 users deserve. Just amazing work by PhotoJoseph. Best 59 bucks ever spent. Why, thank you, Sainik. That is so awesome of you to say. I appreciate that. I'm super proud of it. It's really coming together nicely. It's beautiful. It's informative. It's fun. Every once in a while, I throw in a little bit. My wife says I should try to be more funny. I keep telling her I'm not funny. I don't know why she says that. Anyway, on that happy note, let's get out of here. Take care of yourselves, guys. Martin, good to see you. Martin, good to see you. Well, thank you. You like this? It's cold. What do you want? All right, guys, I'm out of here. Take care of yourselves. See ya. Bye-bye.